Hey everyone, we're talking about the common assumptions about investing and how they can lead us away from achieving financial freedom. These include the assumptions that my home is an investment, or that my investment home will make me all this money, or I don't have money to invest, or if I keep refinancing, I'll keep making more money. Shares versus property, you have to choose a side. And then later in the show, we'll give you the big three things that determine whether you're actually investing or just gambling. I'm Archie, and you're listening to Mind Over Money.
G'day Archie, how you going?
G'day Lachlan. Yeah, fantastic, mate.
So today we're talking about investing.
Yeah, love talking about investing.
Yeah, I love this topic. So right off the bat, for our listeners, what is investing really about? Because there's a lot of assumptions around investing, and I guess that's what we want to talk about today is assumptions when they go wrong. So we've got things like property versus shares. We've got assumptions around how to invest and what investing actually is. So what is investing really about?
Yeah, mate. So the goal of investing is really about creating stable financial assets that grow and that create income that we're going to need throughout our lifetime.
So when we think about investing, we tend to go into two camps, I find. People go heavy into property or they go into the shares. And, when we say shares, we don't just mean direct shares. We could be talking about, managed funds, ETFs, things like that. But they lean into each side, whether it's almost as if they're competing with each other, right? But is that an assumption in itself? Are they really competing with each other, or?
Well, both of them can be investments, or both of them can be gambling. It all depends on what your assumptions are and how you're managing it and how you've structured things. And that's where we find for far too many people, they want financial freedom. Aussies want financial freedom and they want to achieve it quickly, like within 5 to 10 years, which is totally doable. But they don't understand the structuring and they don't understand the actual figures and, what needs to go in.
Yeah.
Whether it's a property investment or share investment, what actually needs to go in to make that work and turn it into an investment rather than gambling.
Yeah, right. So I guess instead of the question of property or shares, it's really what's the goal? If the goal's financial freedom, that's the basis where we can understand what's actually going to bring us financial freedom. And then we can start looking at property, shares, or both.
Yeah.
There's surveys out there. Australians want financial freedom within a couple of years. They don't want to wait their entire life to start living in financial freedom. And that's doable.
Yeah.
I guess the first area we were talking about this before we hit record was the home and how big that the decision of what home we choose to buy can really affect how much cash flow we have and how much money we have to actually invest. So can we talk about that a bit and how that can affect us?
So we want to remove that assumption that our home is an investment. Our home is not an investment. It's somewhere where we live and it's something that's actually costing us money. And we're spending X amount of dollars every year on the home to live where we want to live and to have the lifestyle that we want to have. So let's get rid of that assumption. It's not an investment.
Yeah. And home costs can add up.
Yeah.
If we do an example here, right? Let's think about a household income of 200,000. What can we borrow with that?
Yeah. So we could borrow up to 6 times, which would be 1.2 million on that 200,000 income. But then we got to look at what are we going to end up with cost-wise out of that. So we're going to have to pay, interest at currently around 5% on that 1.2 million home loan if we borrowed it 6 times.
Yeah, it's getting up there.
We're going to have to pay 1% of that house price in repairs and maintenance. We're going to have to pay 1% in utilities. We're going to have furniture and other items that have to go into that house and be maintained and looked after.
Yeah.
We've got the inflation that's going to impact on all these costs around the home over time. And then we've also got the factor that the house is deteriorating. So basically what we're saying is, if we look at the numbers, we can actually determine how much our house is going to cost us and how much impact that's going to have on our ability to actually start to invest.
Those costs really add up when you think of percentage-wise.
Yeah.
if we halve that to a $600,000 home, now that would change everything, right? That would free up cash flow that we need, and the cost of running that home would be lower, correct?
Yep, that's when we can bring the cost of the house right down to a level that's way more effective for us from a cash flow point of view, and then we can actually start paying the house off really quickly. Yeah. And that's a key to getting financial freedom, is getting that house paid off. And so we're getting that house paid off, and then that puts us in a position to start investing.
Yeah. So to recap, the home is not an investment, but it can be almost like an investment tool, in the sense that if we choose a home that's suitable to our situation, that helps us free up cash flow by paying it down so that we can also invest, then the home is still helping us with our investing goals. It can help us and not hurt us from achieving financial freedom. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how you put that. It can help us, not hurt us. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we just wanted to camp there on the home for a second, because that is the biggest, not roadblock, but it's just the thing that can chew up the most amount of money. And if we have assumptions around it, we've got ourselves into this huge home, and it's going to be an investment. It's going to pay off in the long run. We can actually be missing out on what we can be doing now if we had the cash flow. If we were in a home that didn't cost as much to run, that cash flow, what can we do with that today to invest for the future and achieve better result than trying to hang on to a ginormous home that may not be actually serving us as well as we think it is.
Yeah. Well, it may not even be a ginormous home, because it's all relative to our income. If our income's $100,000 a year, we've still, we're not going to be able to buy a ginormous home, but the amount that we borrow is still going to have a big impact. So, and that's why we use the assumption of 200,000 there in our example, was that we can halve it, we can double it, and people can, work out their figures.
Is ginormous a word?
It's one I use.
That's a ginormous home. Yeah. All right. So, okay, on property though, there's a lot of other assumptions around investment homes, right?
Oh, look, the assumptions I commonly run into around investment properties is that one is people think we need to have an investment property to get ahead. And thinking that that's the only way to get ahead, and that someone else is going to pay off the property for us, and which is not correct. We've also got the assumption there that we're going to make all this money straight away out of an investment property, and the figures actually show us it's the other way around. Is that investment property is going to cost you money, and it's going to have an impact on your cash flow. And that impact can be quite detrimental at times, depending on what happens to your cash flow. Yeah, yeah. So those assumptions can really catch us out. Yeah. And so the other thing we see with investment properties is that people will hold them for a certain amount of time, and then sell them and go, "Oh, you beauty, I made all this money," and then go spend it. And again, there's the investment disappeared, and you totally miss out on all the value of what an investment's supposed to be.
Yeah, right. Because the investment is there to continue to grow and provide the income. Yes. And once we've sold that, income's over.
That's it.
I guess put a broad disclosure over this. We do need to do our calculations and determine what it's really going to cost to get into that property. And can we actually hold it long enough to create that into a financial asset? So I guess that's one assumption there, is that people think, I've got the property, it's now a financial asset. Is it really? Because it actually takes work to make it a financial asset. You've got to keep that property maintained, but you've also got to pay it down. So it gets to a place where it's creating the income, and it's not on autopilot. It takes work.
That's it.
I don't think you're going to hear any of this stuff from the property spookers. That's why we're talking about this on the podcast. Yeah. Okay. So the other assumptions would be then around shares, right? That people can just buy and pick shares and make this ginormous return. There's that word, ginormous, again. I see people talking about, oh, the ASX up. Let's get in and buy something, like as if you can just buy any share and the tide floats all boats. When the market's going gangbusters. Is this building a financial asset? Is this investing, Archie?
Yeah. So we come back to the goal of investing. It is to create a stable financial asset that grows and creates income throughout your life. So if we're just putting money into the market when we think we're going to make a return and then quickly taking it back out again, that's not investing. That's just gambling again.
The share spruiking.
Yeah, we're just after something really quick and we're going to end up spending that money and we don't actually achieve anything with it, and we still don't have a financial asset. So we've got to come back and keep going. The goal is to create financial assets, and those assets, are going to grow, and those financial assets are going to produce income throughout our whole life for us. Yeah.
And it takes time. Yeah, we're looking at like 30 years plus here. Yeah. Which I think we disregard. We think 30 years and we go, oh yeah, will I be around in 30 years? Like we're people living into their 90s now. So, 30 years to, let's say, to build up to $1 million investment. And then for the next 30 years, that $1 million will generate many more millions, depending on the return on the investment. So even if we're 30 years now, this is a great time to start investing, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Actually, you'll find for most of us, doesn't matter what our age, it's a great time for investing. But you've got to look at your situation and what's going to be suitable for you, and make the most of it, because there is a lot of money on the line, a lot of income on the line that you can easily miss out on if you don't invest. And there's a lot of fear around investing, and so that's what we're trying to do here, is help people get past that fear, get some actual figures, and get that security of knowing that, hey, this is actually very doable.
We're going to put a link in the show notes. Depending on when you listen to this, it'll come up soon in the show notes with some resources around the cost, the entry cost of investing in property and shares, and the ongoing cost. And so really what that's showing is what it's going to take to achieve $1 million in financial assets over 30 years. And it will just show you some general breakdowns of what kind of costs you could expect.
Very good. So if we can get past our emotions and our assumptions, we can actually find that for people on lower incomes, they have the opportunity to invest through shares and actually generate really good financial assets. And that can be both inside their super and outside super. And for lower income people, this is a great opportunity. It takes very little money to generate some pretty good investments. And we're not talking supercharged returns or anything like that. If we start seeing people spruiking about great big returns, we know it's a scam. So, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about, making average returns and sticking within the limits, of keeping things, fairly secure. So if we can get past those emotions, and we can get past the assumption that it's only property that's going to make me wealth, or it's only property that's going to give me income. If we get past those assumptions, this whole big world can open up to us, and we can find ourselves doing extremely well very quickly, because there's so much on offer to us. Stuff that probably my parents never had access to, but it's definitely available today.
After the break, we'll talk about the big 3 things that determine if you're actually investing or not. So we're talking about investing today, and if you've been thinking you have to wait to invest or that you need to buy a property in order to invest, then you might want to think again. Our Mortgage Crusher program, in partnership with Right Track Planning, it helps everyday Australians pay off their home within 10 years. That's right, 10 years. All while building financial investments that provide income throughout your life. Well, how does all that work? Go listen to episode 17 of our podcast on Mortgage Crusher. You can click the link in the show notes to learn more. Okay, Archie, there are 3 big things that actually determine whether we're investing or not, right? We call these the big 3.
Yep.
What are they?
First one's making regular contributions to an investment. The second one is adequate returns achieved on that investment and reinvesting those returns. And the third one is time allocated for the investment to achieve compounding returns.
So these three, these are really to stop us from gambling, right?
Yeah.
So if these three aren't happening, we're probably not investing. We're probably just having a go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having a guess.
If you take away the regular contributions, you're definitely gambling. If you take away having adequate return and you're waiting for some big payoff, you're gambling. And if you don't give it enough time and you're looking for something to happen really quickly, again, you're back to gambling again.
So let's break down each of those three a little bit there. So with regular contributions, what is that? What do you mean by that?
So whether it's property or shares, we've got to be putting money into the investment. So we've got to be contributing to it. And that's where we can make assumptions that, the rent on the property is paying for the property. I don't need to put anything into it. And that's not true, because you've got to pay the loan off. And so to pay the loan off, you got to put money in. So yeah, whether it's property or shares, got to have those regular contributions happening. The contributions do need to be regular and consistent. That's where we always see the best results, is having those regular, consistent contributions going in. Just throwing a lump sum in or throwing some money in and then hoping it's going to do okay. That's not the answer. It's having those regular amounts going in. That's the key.
And then when it comes to returns and reinvestment, what are the steps involved there?
So we've got to have a target return because when you do your calculations, especially if you look, say, over a period of 30 years, you've got to have that target return that's going to achieve what you need it to achieve from an investment point of view. Is it going to grow fast enough? Is it going to produce enough income? You have that target return. So that target return could be, say, 12%. This gives us measurements. This gives us a way of knowing that we're on track and that our investments are working and that, we're going to actually achieve our goals. And all of that return needs to be reinvested, because if we start taking that return, we lose our compounding effect. So if we take the income that's being generated from an investment property, that investment property, is now not going to achieve the return that we expect over time. So it's not going to grow into the investment that we expect.
The same with shares. It's basically you're flattening the curve of compounding growth, which is the best part.
Yeah. Yeah. And too many people redraw and refinance their investments, especially if it's an investment property. And so, again, that keeps taking the profit out of and the return out of the investment. And so the investment ends up doing nothing. And you can easily get 20 years down the track and find that you've got a property that you still owe everything on and you have no real investment. So that's the sort of stuff we want to avoid there. When it comes to time is our friend if we've got the first two correct. So if we're making the contributions, we've got the return on the investment and we're reinvesting it, then this is where the amazing stuff starts to happen, because over time, a very small investment of $158,000 of our money contributed over 30 years, which is only $4,000 a year, will turn into $1 million if we're getting at least an 8% return. So, we can achieve so much here when we can figure out how much can we, start putting in. And the sooner we put it in, the better. So if we start contributing 4,000 this year and then next year we put in 8,000 and we keep going at 8,000, we have a really good indication that, we're going to build this really nice financial asset. And the issue that we have with time is that people give up too soon. They get 5 years down the track and they look at this investment that's got $50,000 in it and they go, oh, this thing's so puny. I think I'll just go buy a car, or I'll just go, I'll whack it into an investment property or something. And they don't let it actually achieve what it's supposed to achieve. Because after 5 years, you won't have much there. But after 10 years, you've got like $80,000 or $90,000. Then after 20 years, you've got $200,000. And it just keeps on multiplying. And so you've done all the hard yards in the 5 to 10 year mark, and then most of the rest of it is going to be compounding returns.
Yeah. So you take away one or more of these three things, and you've basically gone from investing back to gambling, which is not what we want, because that doesn't give us any benefits. If the goal is financial freedom, we want to remove the assumptions and be investing.
That's it.
So wrapping up, I guess what do you hope that people can take away from what we've just talked about?
Number one, really work out what your home is going to be, so that you can work out how much cash flow you can free up to actually invest. That'd be the number one thing, and find a way of being content with your home. Because, if we lose that contentment, we're going to chase this thing that's going to basically kill our finances and kill our financial freedom. Yeah. Because the home is the biggest cost to Australians. Be aware that, refinancing to fix cash flow problems tells you that you've got actually a major problem. So refinancing is not the way to fix things. There's something bigger at play there that needs to be looked at. And watch out for these assumptions, property versus shares. Watch out for those assumptions about quick fixes, whether it's property, this property is going to make me all this money and I'm going to have all this surplus income straight away. Watch out for those assumptions, because they're the things that really catch you out and cause a lot of financial confusion of, hang on, I did this thing, I should be doing really well and I'm not doing well. And, and now I've got this cash flow problem. And it's usually because of those assumptions. Some people actually make the assumption that by buying the investment property that they're going to be able to stop working. They're going to have all this money coming in and they're going to be able to actually stop working. And they actually haven't done the numbers on it to know, when it is that investment property is going to start really producing for you. And the fact is, for most of us, that investment property is not going to produce for us for probably 30 years. So we need to carry that thing for 30 years. And that's a bit of a mind blower. If you look at how much you're paying off on your home in a year and how much you're investing, you can make substantial growth, just in, those first 5 years, you can actually have really substantial growth towards financial freedom and achieving financial freedom, because you're paying off debt and you're getting investments in place. And it's amazing the difference that makes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Well, I think today we hit a couple of assumptions there. We probably haven't got them all, but I think that started the conversation for a lot of people. So please reach out, click the link in the show notes if you want to connect with someone from our team to get help with your finances and actually start to work through some of these assumptions and work through your situation. Or if you want to learn more about our Mortgage Crusher program through our wealth partners, that strategy helps you eliminate your home loan and invest at the same time, which is exactly what we've been talking about in today's conversation. All right, Archie, till next time.
Yeah,
beautiful. We'll talk to you guys again soon. We'll pick this up next week.
Thanks, Lachlan. Thanks, everyone.
And just a reminder that everything we discussed today is just education purposes only. It doesn't consider your personal financial goals or situations. We're not making any investment advice here either. So if you would like to speak to someone about your personal financial situation, head over to waymakerpodcast.com.au. There's a link in the show notes, and we'll connect you with a qualified wealth advisor. Thanks for listening to Mind Over Money. We hope you have a great week or weekend if you're listening to this on a Friday. See ya.